Welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now let's hear it for our special guest host, Jake and VeRae Joseph.
Hey, what is up, the Alliance family? Holy smokes. Happy Friday morning. We're up, we're running. We got some more daylight in the day, which is good. So, hey, I am Jake Joseph, and this is VeRae Joseph. we're in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, Albuquerque, and just so grateful, so blessed to be able to host this call today. Thank you, Andy and Jane, for giving us the opportunity to speak with the team today. Dang, for those of you who did, I'm assuming you all were on the TWC and watched Terry and Tia speak. Oh my gosh. And Mia, holy smokes, VeRae was reminiscent about when her and Mia were in Canada and having a blast. But to have leaders like that in our business, that's what VeRae and I love so much is seeing the relationships that husband and wives had with each other, with their kids. So absolutely killed it, Terry and Tia. So we're gonna jump into some things. Before that, we got some housekeeping stuff. I know everyone has heard of our big wealth planning seminar and estate planning seminar we've got coming up in a week, March 21st and 22nd. There in Burlington, North Carolina at our headquarters. I know the Thursday night, we will have the social gathering where we're going to be networking, having some fun, being able to chit chat, meet folks. That's going to be at the Red Oak Brewery. And then obviously Friday, the main seminar, all of the learning with Scott Garcia and Andy is going to be there at the Burlington, at the headquarters. If you haven't been to the headquarters yet, get ready for it. Following that, we've got, it's weeks away. We have got our second big event of the year, View from the Edge, which is going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina, April 12th to the 14th. We got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday coming up. Okay. For those of you, if you're new and your first event was National Convention, so glad you were there. This next one that we have coming up is unlike anything that we've ever seen. I think we've been going to these things for 5 years now, and our first View from the Edge, they call it that for a reason, was last year. And I gotta tell you, the show that Mark Aceta puts on is unlike anything we've seen. Like I mentioned, the way we're educated, the way we're entertained, it keeps you focused. We've had more people coming out of that event that actually they remembered what they learned. They implemented it once they got home. So they were excited coming through, and as they got home, they continued to push through and apply a lot of the stuff that they learned there at that event. So if this is your first time hearing about it, put it on your calendar. If it's your 100th time hearing about it, make sure you got your flights, your tickets, your hotels, all that good stuff. You do not want to miss it. Hey.
Yeah, so we got some big announcements. So as Jake was telling you guys, if you guys went to your first event with us, you got 100,000 bonus points towards the trip that we're taking. And so for those of you that don't know, we are going to Cabo in 2025. So this year, I know, right? This year, we're working towards that. And it's not the trip that you win. It's a trip that you earn. And you do that by marketing credits, dollar for dollar, annual premium. And so we would like to congratulate one of the first Cabo winners. We got Miss Megan Wood. We got a sticky note. Megan Wood, congratulations on getting yourself to Cabo. I know you're going to do big things, and you always do. And I know you'll have another couple people to Cabo with you by the end of the year. But big congratulations to her, because, guys, we have all year to earn this event. And here we are, March 15th. So we're 3 months into, not even a full 3 months into the business, 2.5 months in, and Megan Wood's already earned up to Cabo. So congratulations. For those of you that know her, she's a hard worker. She deserves that. You know, she's put in the work to do that. So congratulations, Megan Wood.
That's nuts. That is awesome. So let's see. We're just gonna all these things. The seminar for next week, View from the Edge. And also not excluding our hotspots all across the country, top leaders, top salespeople leading from the front who are hosting trainings and meetings all across the country. All of these things, please look up theallianceevents.com. You've got everything. The team has done a great job at headquarters of putting that thing together, and such a great resource for us to be able to plug into and to help our team grow. So, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. We're gonna jump right into the message and get into some of these nitty-gritty details. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit, right?
Yeah.
I think so. If any of y'all have done the animal test, VeRae's a lion. I'm more of like a retriever beaver. So for all you beavers out there, you might feel your tails a-slapping, your teeth growing out a little bit longer, because we're going to kind of get into some of the thick of it. But we're going to be diving into what an agent launch process looks like. Okay. So when we first saw this, I was working in construction. VeRae was working in the nursing field, going to school. We had our two little kiddos, Reina and Catalina, and we had tried. We could say we tried building a business, right?
Yeah, we did. We had tried building a business before this on Amazon.
Yeah, we had given our shot at some drop shipping Amazon stuff. We were selling backseat baby mirrors, and it lasted a good bit. 2 months. It was great. Spent our life savings, and it was. We're glad we did it because it gave us an outlook of what it could be, what it could look like, working for ourselves and being our own bosses. Now, that's not what we're here to talk about. Is more of the fact that, you know what, we didn't. There was some sort of process, right? We knew there was other people making money, and we knew the ones who were following it to a T were making the money. Now, the biggest part is that we didn't have the support, unlike what we have here at the Alliance.
Right.
Oh my gosh, the fact that you can pick up the phone and call someone and they answer it and they actually are making money, is insane. And that's the important part about going to these events and networking and meeting people, is that you're going to need help. You cannot do this on your own. So all of it, what we're talking about today, is nothing that we came up with ourselves. We've learned from Andy Albright himself, a lot, Mike and Noel, Joseph Dukes, a lot of leaders in this business that we've just kind of copied and implemented for ourselves. And it's funny, everyone heard Alex Abian in Dallas, Texas, and we loved what he had to say. He was actually just on a call with Mike and Noel for our team last week. Last week, was it Monday? Monday. All right, Monday. And he spoke about what we're going to kind of dive into first. Is he spoke about having enough to choose from. Right. Maybe you've heard the term recruiting like your life depends on it, because talking about how to launch an agent successfully, going from the first initial conversation all the way up to the first application, is you've got to have enough people to work with. And I'll say that again, because maybe some people didn't hear that, because I know when I was brand new, I didn't hear it. You have to have enough people to work with. I remember when we were brand new, and I just remember, you start hiring your first people, and you're just thinking, I got one. And you've got this one person. And again, this is why you go to the event. You get to talk with Mike Leventovich. He's got this song about huddling over this one little agent. And it's like, if you got one person to work with, well, you better be pouring all of your dang time into that one person, because if you're not running your business. Yeah. But it's like, rather than having one person to work with, I kind of thought of it, was thinking about it last night. I like cars. I like toys, all these things that you can race with 2 or 4 wheels. And I'm like, man, if I had a garage full, you see these people who have garage fulls of vehicles, trucks, and the sports cars and all this stuff. It's like, I got something set up like that, and I've got my 2007 Pontiac G5 in the corner, and I've got a Ferrari and a Maserati and a Mercedes G-Wagon and all these cars. It's like, I'm probably not going to be spending much time in the Pontiac anymore. It might get some dust on it, right? So we have to have enough to choose from, making sure that we can really see who we're working with. Because if you've just got one or two people to work with, it's like you can't complain if they're not doing anything or if nothing's not happening, right? Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if we've got a ton of people to work with, we've got to make sure we're doing it the right way. Now, I know VeRae's going to kind of touch on a couple of the things of, we're not going to get too much in the interview process or anything, but more so it's like, okay, where do we find people who want to win at a high level? How do we find them?
Yeah, so I think that's massive. We were talking to a girl on our team the other day, and what Jake was saying, she was feeling a little bit of frustration, and she's just getting into this hiring process. So she hired like her first one or two agents. She said, they're not doing anything. And I said, well, how many people are you working with? And she was like, well, I've got one person right now. And she was acting exhausted. I said, you better work with that one person because that's all that you got right now. So you should be exhausted working with that one person. But one of the things that we like to just kind of go over, because a lot of people might say like, well, what are you guys using? What resources are you using to bring people into your business? And first and foremost, one thing that Jake and I still do to this day is warm market. I think that's absolutely the best market. I know we get a lot of people in and they're excited about building a business and they want to jump onto ZipRecruiter and Indeed right away. But they haven't even gone through their warm market. And so that's one of the main resources that Jake and I use. We continue to use that to this day. We'll go through our phones. We're doing the check-in. We started 5 years ago. And when we started, 22, 23 years old, all of our people that we had in our phones were excited. They had just got out of college. They were going to go onto their career. They hadn't been beat up by the workforce yet, right? So a lot of people that we touched base with then weren't interested. But now here we are 5 years later, they've been working, they've been beat up, their college degree maybe didn't get them the job that they thought it would. And they're starting to see, wow, maybe there is something else out there. So I think that's important for people to know is warm market is the best market. And just because they told you no, it doesn't mean no forever. It just means not now, right? And just not being afraid to do that, because the worst that somebody could tell you is, hey, I'm not interested. It's like, hey, no big deal, right? So going through our warm market is huge. The other thing, and then going through ZipRecruiter and Indeed. So we invest in ZipRecruiter with President's Club. I'm sure you guys have heard those promotions. If you haven't, you can reach out to President's Club. But we pay for recruiting ads every single month. It's a consistent thing that we have. And then we also use Indeed. And for Jake and I, we just use the Indeed account that's free. We don't buy the Indeed account. We get a lot of responses just off of the free account that we're able to use, and we can market, here in Albuquerque and some key spots that we're trying to grow our business. And then another resource that we have is depth, right? So we bring an agent in and it's okay. You've just unlocked a whole new door of their warm market, right? Just because everybody knows other people. And especially if you have a married person or somebody that's in a relationship, not only do you have my warm market, but you've got Jake's warm market. And so when you hire somebody off of Indeed or ZipRecruiter, they know people, right? So getting into their warm market is huge with depth. And then also just as you're out and about, and I think that kind of does fall into warm market a little bit. But, Jake and I, our kids are playing sports right now. We're talking to the parents. We've gotten some parents licensed. They haven't done anything. But again, it's that sort, right? Which I know Jake is going to talk about a little bit more. But, you better believe we're talking to the parents as we're on these trips, as we're, dropping kids off at practice. School teachers. And it's funny because our kids know how to recruit. Our younger daughter, Catalina, came home. She said, all right, Mom, Miss Gonzalez, she's 25. She's married, no kids. She has a college degree. Maybe you guys can talk to her for summer. So it's hilarious because our 7-year-old is telling us like, who she has as an Alliance Alice right in front of her, right? So that's pretty cool, just, having our kids in this business. But those are some, that's not the only thing, but the warm market, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, depth as you're out and about. And then also, maybe your upline has a source where there can be booking interviews for you, right? So it's just using everything because everything works a little bit, right? So, but I know you wanted to kind of talk about that as well.
Yeah, we're gonna because the first thing is you got to find someone. Okay, so you can't get someone started until you find them. So identify them. Now, we all think, and I thought about this too. It's like, okay, there's the interview process when you first talk to someone, whether it's your best friend or, the waitress at the restaurant, and you do the interview, and we've all learned from Andy, the Alliance Aiden, the Alliance Alice, use that. That's one thing that has helped us really save time in our business since breakthrough, because Andy just hammered it, but it's helped us save a lot of time and energy, knowing that, okay, who do we work with? Who do we not work with? Okay. So there's this, we'll get into these 5 steps that hopefully I'll be able to write down in launching an agent. But once you find someone, there's this thing, learned it from Greco and Guerra, is this triple sort that they talk about. And it's, are they going to get started? That's the first sort, is, are they even going to get started? Because if they're not, don't work with them, right? First sort being, are they going to get started? Second being, are they going to do something? Are they going to get started? Are they going to do something? And then third is, are they going to lead? Are they going to duplicate your efforts and go do this with or without you? That's really what you're looking for. So just because you bring someone on doesn't mean, they're the next best thing. Is you still have to do the sorting process while you're working with them. So keep in mind, while you're getting someone started, you're still thinking and sorting and interviewing them all at the same time. So that way, when you've got, rather than having 2 people to work with, you've got 20 to work with, you now are able to understand, okay, I've got 20 people. This is when I first saw, I was like, how am I supposed to work with all these people? And I remember talking, probably Mike and Noel or maybe Andy, and I was like, oh, my hands. Okay. Hands are up here. What do I do with my hands? Is you've got 20 people to work with. How the heck am I supposed to give each of these people equal time? That was the mistake. That was the mistake, is you have to use this sort. You have to continue to interview, because you're not supposed to give every single person equal amount of time. Is you have to work where you're deserved, not needed. That's the key here. So just keep that in mind as you're getting people started, and as you've got this many people to work with, is who's getting in, who's actually doing something, who's duplicating your efforts. So diving into some of these actual concrete details, we're going to touch on 5 steps that we've focused on in helping someone from the initial interview into writing their first apps. So 5 simple things, and we're gonna spend more time breaking each one down. First one being licensing process. Okay, and I'm going to come back to each of these. So licensing would be 1. 2 would be the contracting process. 3 would be initial training. I know President's Club has done an amazing job with their Getting Started Quickly page. 1 page, super quick. The 4th thing being personal coverage review. So Andy's first step in the 8 steps. And then 5 being warm market policy reviews. Okay. So these 5 things we're going to break down, get more into the weeds with. But those 5 things is that's our mental checklist that we're going through and walking these new people through. Now, real quick, coming back to that triple sort. Okay. Obviously, yes, they get started. So we're going to start them through this 1 through 5 process. But secondly is, are they going to do something? So to be clear is, whether it's from a leadership standpoint or you're a new agent working with your leader, is we're paying attention. We're sorting, we're continuing to interview. So at any moment in time, it's like, if I see someone who I'm working with, I'm not going to tell you to do anything that's going to hurt you. Okay. So when I see someone choose not to do something, or they just want to, can I skip over that? It's like, to be clear, I'm not your boss, but now I know. I take a note mentally, and we remember that, because we're looking for those who are easy to work with. So as a new agent, remember that is your leader they're continuing to interview, they're continuing to sort and figure out what you're willing to do, right? And as a leader, we need to pay attention to that, because we may think we've got someone that fits the mold, but it's not what they say, it's what they do. Okay. So first thing is licensing. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so getting into the licensing, and I'll just kind of back up real quick. Like during the interview, and again, it's doing that triple sort. Like a lot of times you have people, yeah, I'm ready to go. And one of the big questions that we ask people is, how soon do you want to be out there helping families and making some money? And ideally, they say right away. So then we're going to say, okay, perfect. The first step, we got to help you get your license. You're required to have a license. It's $50. Get through that class. Well, if they don't have $50, let's just move on. Because I feel like we've had a lot of people on our team lately, like, I've got this one person and they're so sharp and they're young, they're ambitious. I'm like, all right, well, let's get them in class. Well, they don't got $50. I'm like, okay, all right. If they don't have $50 to get into class, I don't think that they're going to have the other $50 it's going to take to pass the state exam. So just kind of coming back to that. But getting into the licensing process, it's having a high level of expectation. With Jake and I are talking to our people about, it's nothing different than what we did, right? And it's just, if you set the expectation, people are going to they're going to rise and fall to the level of expectation that you set. So a big expectation that we have as we're getting started is we need these people getting through the class within a week or less. And you guys talk to your mentors about how you do it. I know for the Lev and Tovich organization, we're a big fan of starting with life only. The reason that we do that is because it gets people in and out of class and they can quickly start making money with their life insurance license. So we always tell people, hey, our super ambitious people are getting this class done in, 1 to 2 days. Our not so ambitious people, they're treating it like a college semester in school, and they're taking, weeks and months to get through this. Our average person is getting through this class in a week or less. So would you consider yourself more average or ambitious? Hopefully you're going to get the person that says, well, I consider myself more ambitious, right? So we're saying, okay, hey, Jake, you said that you're ambitious. This is kind of the expectation that we have then. Let's talk tomorrow. How many chapters do you think that you can get done between tomorrow when we talk? So let's say that we're talking to them at 4:00 and, it's that time. One thing that our staff has become very good at is, he's talking to people and he's challenging them because we're passing them off to him to get them in class. And he's saying, hey, I need you to have 3 chapters done by tomorrow. We're going to get you in Jake's calendar at 12:00 tomorrow. We're going to get you in VeRae's calendar at 11:00 tomorrow. Do you think you can have 3 chapters done by the time you talk to them? And he's challenging them to do that, and it's working because people don't want to let you down. But if you just say, hey, let's just touch base. Let me know how class is going. We're going to see how it goes. People aren't going to challenge themselves because you haven't set that expectation for them, right? So we'll pause there because that's something huge. So like our staff, Mike, he gets them signed up in class. I'm going to get more into the weeds here, so don't worry. My beaver's going to start showing. Don't worry. That expectation. This is the cool part. Right before we have the follow-up, I go on Excel, I see what they've done. If they've done 3 chapters in the last 24 hours, which is basically putting them on pace to finish in 3 or 4 days, guess what that tells me? Guess what that tells me about how much time I should be spending with them? It tells us a good bit, right? Now, if they didn't even open it, well, guess what that tells me, right? So you get to see like who's doing the deal, right? So again, we've been tricked. We've let people put up like big thing is like, oh, I'm going to kill this thing, blah, blah. It's like, all right, let's see. I believe you can. So I don't want to cut you off, but that's huge because again, it's that sort. It's, did they actually do it or did they not? Right. Yeah. So just setting that expectation. Hey, let's get through class. This should not take you more than a week. Let's see if we could get it knocked out in 2-3 days, but just, again, having that high level of expectation and then seeing who follows through with that, like what Jake said. So we've got some examples of people, like we always make it a joke in the office, but it is true, right? My mom, she got into class on a Friday evening, and by Sunday morning, she was texting me saying, hey, I'm done with this class. She sent me a screenshot. That following Tuesday, she took her test and passed it. So she got into the class on Friday evening at like 7 or 8 p.m. was through the class by Sunday, and by Tuesday morning was passing her state exam. So we make it a joke at the office, and if you want to borrow our story, I'm sure Mama Imelda wouldn't mind, but we said, hey, we got this lady. She has a brain injury. She used to be connected to oxygen, like bedridden. She's old. She got through class in 2 days. Like, do you think you could beat that lady that's got a brain injury connected to oxygen? And so we use that as a joke, but it actually is true, right? Because my mom had a brain injury. Now, to be clear, she's a very sharp woman. She's recovered from her brain injury, but it's a joke that we like to use. And so it's just setting that high expectation. And the cool thing is the speed of the leader, the speed of the pack, right? So now my mom, she's got some people. She just hired this sharp girl named Lauren, who she was actually doing a real estate deal with. And what was Lauren's class?
Lauren came in to the office on a Thursday for a hotspot, got signed up in class. It was either that night, first thing Friday morning. She passed her test by Tuesday.
Right.
And guess what? So the speed of leader, speed of the pack. So if you're brand new and you haven't signed up in class yet, get through it quick, because guess what? What you do, your people are probably going to do like half of, right? So Amanda got through it quick. Lauren got through it quick. And then Lauren brought on her friend Stephanie. And guess how long Stephanie took? It was about 4 days. She's taken her test this week. She just got started last week. So remember, it's people are watching you, and you can use your own story, right? You get to use your own story with this huge now. Getting more into the weeds a little bit with the licensing. If you hire someone licensed, awesome, that's cool. But if they don't, like if you're going into your warm market, this is the thing is we can't. I've had stories of people on our team that we work with, and they're like, yeah, Jake, they didn't even get signed up in class yet. Like, what am I doing wrong? It's like, I sent him the thing. And I'm like, oof. You sent him the thing. Did you walk them through the thing?
Yeah.
Like, did you take them and make sure, hey, it's in Andy's book. Hey, you got your computer up. You got your debit card. You got $50. Okay, let's roll. Go to this website. We've got it in an email. You can send them the email. Click on
You don't just send them the email and say, call me when it's done.
You're on the phone with them, right? I know this takes time. This is work. I get it. This is how you're going to help people, though. Now, if you get to the point where you're like, Jake, that's so boring, I don't want to do that, well, then hire someone to do that. Hire some staff that can walk them through getting an agent number, getting signed up in class. But we have to understand we got to walk them through this process so we don't lose anyone, okay? Because all the while, guess what you get to do while you're on the phone walking them through class, or if they're in front of you face-to-face, even better. Guess what? You get to build a relationship. And that's the other thing I left out before we get into the second piece here, is all the way through these 5 steps is you're building the relationship. People aren't going to want to work with you if they don't like you, okay? So if you have no relationship, it's going to make it harder to get them to events. It's going to get them harder to purchase leads. It's going to be more difficult for them to get a policy on themselves. So all the while we're doing this, the more time we spend with them, the more time we get to build that relationship, right?
Yeah. And a small note on there, we've got some people and they're like, I've got my first recruit. It's like, let's not refer to them as recruits, but let's not refer to them as my new agents. Like, hey, I've got some, let me introduce you to Jake. He's on my team. Let me see if I could get you on the phone with my upline, right? So it's just treating them like family, and just people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
I nailed it. But, it's just building that relationship. And like Jake said, that starts from the interview. And then if you're the one walking them through class, that's you having that relationship. It's having a staff member that's competent enough and able to build a relationship and not sound like a dummy on the phone, right? Just, hey, it's little touches. And then it's a game of ping pong, of bam bams, right? And the game of ping pong is between these 5 steps. So I'll kind of let Jake talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to the next one, contracting. But before we go on, this is the other thing and we're gonna get into this contracting thing too. So step 2 is gonna be contracting, right? Simple. We got to make sure once they have their license, their NPN number, they start setting up with each of the insurance companies that we have. Okay. Easy. The new contracting site, bad to the bone, makes it the simplest thing in the world to do. Thank you, Robbie and the team. Bam fam. This is where it gets in, because you can send someone, hey, fill out these contracts. If that's all we're doing and we have no bam fam, now we'll slow down. Bam fam. Book a meeting from a meeting. We have a good friend, Fam Bam, from a meeting, book a meeting, about the same thing. Bam, fam, fam, bam. As long as you do it, we're good. So, like, again, slowing down and getting in the weeds. You've got someone who's licensed. They just got through class, passed their test, what have you. Now they have their license. Now we got to get them contracted. What do you do? Well, you have a scheduled time, whether it's in person or over Zoom or on the phone, or you have your staff do it. But we walk them through the first contract. If no one's ever been in insurance before, they're going to have questions. And guess what? If you're not walking them through it, guess what happens when they get to the first question that they have on CFG? They're going to do nothing. They're not going to call you. It's going to be hard for them to figure it out themselves. And then you follow up with them a week later and you're like, hey, how's it going? I haven't heard from you in a minute. And they're like, yeah, I got stuck on the CFG carrier contract. And I'm like, okay.
Our fault, not theirs.
Our fault, not their fault. Our fault as a leader. You need to take ownership of that. So what we're doing is we walk them through. Now, for us, our staff walks them through first carrier contract. Then we're like, okay, they're all about going to be the same. Now, if you get stuck anywhere, I need you to call me. But this is a thing, is we immediately, if we talk to them at 8 a.m. and we walk them through their first carrier contract, guess what? We have a BAM fam, a scheduled follow-up time for about maybe, let's just give it 2-3 hours, okay? So that way we take ownership in following up with them at that scheduled time and figure out, hey, did you get them all done? Because it shouldn't take, I don't even think it takes an hour to get through all of those.
Right.
But if we've got other stuff we've got to do besides the fact is we have that scheduled BAM fam time to make sure that they've gotten through all the contracts. That should not take, I get it, licensing is maybe going to take them closer to a week. Contracting should only take them an hour.
Right.
We're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But walk them through the first one, have a scheduled BAM fam follow-up time for the next ones, and then we can move them on to the next piece. So slowing down, contracting simple, but the BAM fam is massive. If we're not doing that, that's where we lose people. And that's where we found out from past experiences is where we might have lost the next integrity partner. We don't know, but that's where we have to get really good at those scheduled follow-up times, especially if you're telling your mentor, hey, I've got a good one, and you're talking to them once a week. That's kind of hard. So moving into the next one, contracting again, super simple, the training page. So the way I like to think about this, because we do a lot of one-on-one training with our agents of making phone calls and how we use the ATM and whatnot, how we fill out the green sheet. But this training page, again, Alliance University, we've got that amazing Bad to the Bone. Simply just get started. I know Terry Edwards is on there and Brant Swindell and some other people. But if you're growing up line, if your mentor has something different, cool, use that. But again, the Alliance University has a really good one. Now, what does this help do? Well, because you're going to be spending one-on-one time with the right people, for them going through this training page pretty quickly, it's going to give them the basic fundamentals. It's not going to give them everything, but it's going to give them the basic fundamentals to know enough. So that way, when you start, like you do your one-on-one training with the phone scripts, they know what the phone script is. They know what a dial sounds like. They're not completely lost, and you're not having to spend more time explaining it. So I'll kind of take like a T on the play is the more we can do, and this is all these steps, the more we can do to save time, the better. Because really, if you've got someone licensed, we can have them writing applications in their first week, okay? But the more we can do to save time and not have to draw things out, the better. So by them going through this training page, again, as long as they watch it and they download what needs to be downloaded, they're going to have a basic idea of what you as their leader is talking about when you get into some of these other things of how to book appointments, how to book appointments, how to run appointments, and so on.
I think it's big real quick, though, that training page on the Alliance University. I mean, it's going to teach them how to download the quoting tools. It's going to give examples of, live, people dialing, Brant Swindell with his in-home presentation. So just like Jake was saying, the basics of things, like when we get on, we don't necessarily need to be that person that's telling them, okay, go ahead and click on this link. Let's download this app. And, this is how you download the Mutual of Omaha quoting tool. That training page has that in there. So let's utilize that. And then let's also set a high expectation of timing, right? That training page doesn't take a week. That training page takes a day, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you could get through that class. I don't want to put like a time frame, but I don't think it should take more than 4 or 5 hours, probably 3 hours to get through that training page. But it's having that high level of expectation of, hey, we're going to start working on the training page now. Let's say you're talking to them on a Sunday and it's 12 o'clock and you've got a BAM fam for the following day, because again, we're coming back to that BAM fam with these people that are showing progress, right? They've gotten through the class. So you're talking to them more often. It's like, hey, let's see, do you think you can have that training page knocked out by tomorrow when we talk at this time? And challenging them to do that and slowing down and taking the time to say, hey, if there's a link that it says to download, be sure you download that link. If there's a form that it says to print, be sure that you print that form. And it's us having the ability to walk somebody through that. And then also making sure, if you do have somebody on staff helping you, making sure that they have the ability to help them walk through that as well, right? So just, again, a high level of expectation. Let's talk, we're going to BAM fam. We're going to talk tomorrow at this time. You think you can get that training page done for me at that time? Because a lot of people will get stuck in that, right? And really, it's nothing. They're watching videos. They can have an AirPod in as they're cleaning their house. They can have, they can have it going on their car as they're driving. It's not necessarily something that they need to be sitting there taking notes in. They just need to go through it. They need to listen to it and understand. So when we get back on the phones with them, they know what we're talking about, right? So that training page is huge. And thank you to, the Alliance for providing something like that, because that's massive. And if you're not utilizing that, you absolutely should be utilizing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so another little side note. Let's talk about time frame real quick, because urgency is a key factor in when we're doing this, okay? So it's just like with the BAM fams, the scheduled follow-ups, is if we don't have urgency in this, again, it's going to prolong their success. And when we choose to bring someone on and help them, our goal is we want to see them getting an ARC deposit as soon as possible. That's the goal. Now, it's just dependent on them too. We've got to be in 100%. They've got to be in 100%. It can't be none of this 50-50 stuff. I don't care if they're doing it part-time or full-time, but we both got to be in at 100%, because if I'm putting in my time, money, and emotional energy, and I'm giving it 100% and they're not, it's kind of like, I know there's someone else that needs more of my time. Okay. Now, again, if you got 2 people, you're going to get frustrated. But if you got 20, you've got more people to work with. You're never going to have a dull moment. Okay. So, time frame. So again, if they're already licensed, we've already seen it. Like in one single day, they can go, like from the time they get their license, all on the same day, they should have their contracting done. They can crank out their training page and get into this 4th step of personal coverage review, AKA step 1 and personally of the 8 steps. Okay. So again, this doesn't, just because there's these 5 steps doesn't mean it's got to take a week. They can get 1 through 4. Again, if they're already licensed, they can get through 2, 3, and 4 all in the same day. Okay. Now we just have to set that expectation. Again, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. So personal coverage review, what is it? We're sticklers on this. Like, this is a big sort for me, because think about it this way. And I know if y'all leaders have had people out there that you're talking to them about this, you're going through, you're like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do personal coverage review. Do you have a policy already? Awesome. We're going to teach you how to review it. You're going to get some good training. You're going to learn how to review a policy, and we're going to be able to stack up and show you how competitive our companies are. And 9 times out of 10, we've got something better. Right. Okay. So, and even if not, it's a great idea just to get something that our company works with, because then you can get a Mutual of Omaha accidental for $10 a month. Who cares? Whoop to do, So it just gives you that credibility. But we've all had those conversations. We sit down and we're going over the personal coverage review, and they have no insurance. and you end up getting them an objection from them, like, oh, well, I can't afford it right now, or it's not important. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to talk to both new agents right now and leaders. As you run into these situations, you got to stop to think and be like, okay, if they can't overcome their own objection, good luck overcoming the objection of professional objection givers when you get into the home. You're going to get, oh, well, I can't afford it. Oh, I don't really need it, and this and that. What are you going to say? Right? It's just like, I always think if someone came into our house before we got our license, oh gosh, people would have had a heyday in our home. They would have wrote a bunch of premium on us because we needed it bad.
Yeah.
And if someone came into our house and sat down with VeRae and I, and our kids were running around in the backyard, and they talked to us about life insurance, and we found out that they didn't have a policy on themselves, all of that work they just did, all of that bond and rapport, all of that trust they built, even if we were laughing, having a good time, high-fiving, all that good stuff, it all goes out the window the moment that I find, at least for me, that I find out that they don't believe in what they do.
Right.
Okay. So again, it's like, we're not trying to get brand new agents to spend $500 a month on their first policy. It's the fact that, hey, can we get something that's a coffee a month? You know, especially if you got a younger person you're working with, gosh, I mean, $10 a month, maybe. So I don't want to spend too much time on that part of it, but a couple key tips in what we're doing it. When I'm explaining with a new person why we do this, one, it's the credibility factor, right? It's that credibility of knowing when you're in the ATM. None of you don't know what ATM is. It's a book that we've got when we're in the home, and we have that carriers page. And I love it because I always talk about my own personal story about having heart disease and how it was a little bit hard for me to get approved. But I know when I can go and point to the carriers that approved me, even though I had some health stuff going on, it makes most of the time we're sitting down with people who have health concerns, it makes them comfortable.
It takes the burden off their shoulders of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get approved, or hey, is this going to be more expensive than I thought? So having that personal use story is massive, and you can say, hey, listen, I'm perfectly healthy. I was able to get this company. You know, my husband, not so healthy, you know, as far as his heart condition goes. Thank God we've got a company like Transamerica who was able to accept him, you know, and brought him. So I don't know if you've got heart disease, if you're perfectly healthy, if you've got cancer, but hey, we've got a carrier for you. So it's just having that credibility and being able to have, you know, that swagger, as you would call it, just knowing, hey, we're going to be able to get you covered, and having that confidence in what you do. Our
team is able to go out there and show their clients, hey, this is what I have for my family, and that builds more trust. Okay. I tell them, hey, not only is it going to give you credibility, this is training. You've never quoted, you've never written an application. Right. It does not feel good when your first time writing an app is in front of a stranger and your face turns red because you can't even figure out your hotspot, let alone how to log in or what to do in the application. So it's a training point of first time through an application, because again, it's our job as leaders to set them up for success. Right. If something's happening in the beginning, it could be new person, but most of the time it's like, okay, is there something that I didn't do that I set them up for that? Like, did I not make sure they knew how to access the e-apps, or maybe they didn't even know how to log into the ARC, right? Stuff like that. So it gives them the credibility, it gives them the training, it protects their family, and you get paid on it. Like, so get a quick win, right? You get half off your first year of insurance premiums. So one time-saving tip we do is like the green sheet. Okay, so not only the more training comes in is when we have them fill out the green sheet. Our last scheduled time, I say, hey, make sure you have this copy of the green sheet, print it out, fill it out on yourself, so that way when we talk tomorrow, we're ready to go and we're not wasting any time. And then guess what? I know if they didn't do that, well, guess what? It's like they couldn't take 2 seconds to fill out a green sheet on themselves. You don't even have to ask questions. It's all in your head. So it just helps save a lot of time. But moving into that fifth and final step before we get into leads and whatnot is that those warm market policy reviews. Okay, and I'll let VeRae touch on those of what we do there.
Yeah. So, and again, I think it's just all coming back to that expectation, right? And Jake said, our goal is to have an agent get an ARC deposit as soon as possible. Because they have to believe that they can do this, right? So that war market policy review, one thing that we make very clear is this war market policy review is for the purpose of practicing. We are not trying to write your friends and family. Like, thank God we have the alliance and we have a system that has leads. A lot of people come from other companies where they had to recruit their friends and family, and that was their source of leads. We don't do war market policy reviews for that reason. So I think it's important to let your agent, your new person know that is, hey, we're going to do some war market policy reviews. Here's going to be the benefits of it. It's going to help you, right? You're going to be able to learn how to review a policy. Your mom, your dad, your uncle, they got life insurance. Okay, cool. We're not going to touch their policies, but we're going to help you learn how to review a policy. Hey, if one of your family members or friends needs life insurance, who better to help them than you? You don't want them going down the street to the agent that just, has commission breath and that they don't care. They're going to put your family member in a 10-year term and didn't even tell them it was a 10-year term, right? So it's going to help you review a policy. It's going to help you learn how to quote, submit an application. And then, even if you don't help your family, hey, it's giving you that practice. You can call from the home. You can go over the green sheet with us. We're going to make sure that you sound right for your appointments. But a lot of times this can overwhelm somebody that's new because they have that fear and anxiety of like, well, I don't want to call my friends and family. And again, we're making it very clear, like, hey, these are war market policies reviews. I think that we used to call them practice appointments a few years ago. We completely strayed away from that. So as a leader, if you're calling them practice appointments, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, but it might just be giving your new person that anxiety in their head, like, oh God, they want me to practice on my friends and family and they're going to make me sell them something. So just having that terminology, war market policy review, is massive, and just making sure that they know, hey, this is for the purpose of you getting a few wins, getting a few practices under your belt, maybe getting a few wins, and then we're going to get you out with leads right away. And the way that we tell agents is, we don't need you to have 10, 15, 20 war market policy review appointments. We need you to have 2 or 3 good ones, and we're going to get you out there working with some families. So what I need you to do, Jake, good job getting your license, good job doing your war market, your personal policy. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to get a list together of 10 people that are here, preferably here locally. I don't need you to call these 10 people, Jake. I just need you to get a list together of 10 people that you think might give you the time of day to do a war market policy review. But Jake, don't call these people, okay? So he's going to get that list together of 10 people. Sometimes they come back with 5, sometimes they come back with 15. Again, that's not the point. The point is, did they make a list of these people? And we're going to give them a script to use on how to call these people. Because remember, our goal and your goal shouldn't be to have these people sell to their friends and family to get up and started. It's just, hey, let's get them some more market policy reviews. Let's get them, learning the system so we can get them out there helping families. So when Jake comes back to me, he's the person that we just hired, and he tells me, okay, I've got my 10 people. Now we're going to teach them a script to use. So, okay, so Jake, let's role play. So Jake, do you want to teach people the script that we use real quick?
So we, it's pretty basic and simple. We're just going to have them say, call up, let's say it's their mom. Hey, Mom, how's it going? This and that, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I don't know if I told you, I started a new project working in insurance and financial services. And my managers, before they send me out next week to work with all of our clients, they need to make sure they can give me some feedback and know that I'm capable of doing what we do and having a conversation with folks. So would you be willing to help me out for maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, nothing too crazy. So that way I can get that feedback from my manager and I can get a better idea of what I'm doing. Would you be willing to help me out? And they're like, yeah, sure. It's like, if they start saying, oh, I already got insurance, I don't need anything. It's like, oh, no, that's actually perfect. If you have a policy already, that's going to make it even better for me because I need to learn. I need to get a better idea of how to look at a policy and so on. So it's just like, not matter of fact, just like real easy going, nothing too crazy. not telling them, oh, we got to come sell you a policy.
Yeah, but I think the important thing that people might not have not picked up on is, when we're teaching people how to call their warm market policy review list, again, it's nonchalant. We don't need people to book an appointment with all 10 of them. It's like, hey, out of these 10 people, one might be out of town. One might be like, hey, nah, man, I'm good. Like, I don't want to. If your mom and dad said, yeah, you can. Again, we just need 2-3 good, solid appointments out of that. But one thing that Jake mentioned that might have been overlooked is, in that warm market policy review script, it was, hey, they've got people for me to work with next week. I just need to make sure I can, sit down with a few people before they get me out there with their clients, because that's creating urgency, right? So it's, if you've got your agent calling them on a Thursday and they say, hey, they've got me working with people next week. Well, now they know this is urgent and it needs to be done in the next 24 to 48 hours so they can be out there actually working with clients by next week. So I think that's big. That could have been something that people missed. But
so to wrap up those 5 steps, all of them are very crucial. But remember, as a leader, you're paying attention and you're seeing who does what. If I've got someone who does all of those and they're super easy to work with and they crank it out in 3 or 4 days, bam. Work with that person. If it takes them 5 weeks and they're fighting you on everything, just, be nice to them. Let's see what we can do. But it's like, hey, we can't want it. We can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves.
Right.
Okay. That it just doesn't work. So all of this 1 through 5 should take, a couple days, if not a week, right? Let's see how fast we can get them through it. So a couple things as we're having these conversations, one thing I do want to mention is, and it's in Andy's book, LLC, List License Convention. I've got a sticky note right on my computer. So that way, how you can count up how many different conversations you could have with your new person through steps 1 through 5, but every single time we should be doing LLC. And one of the best ways that we learned, that we heard to get comfortable, like list being, break it down, list being who else do they know? License being, okay, do they have their license yet? Can we get them moving one step further and getting their license? If they're already licensed, that license kind of turns into like selling. What's the next thing we can do to help them get selling more, hit more of their selling goals? And then convention is the activity call, the TWC, our big national conventions. So the convention part with it coming up so quickly is, how do we get good at that, right? Remember, it's early and it's often. The first conversation you have with them, you're telling them about April 12th to the 14th.
You're not telling them about the great time that they're going to have, and the ticket's only $3.99 on sale right now, and it's going to be so fun when you're out there with us. You're just put it in your calendar.
Hey, part of our training is we have these big national events, thousands of agents come around, you got the carriers, so on, promote it. Early and often, though. And then the next conversation, hey, did I tell you about the big national event that we have 12th to the 14th? Did I tell you? Okay, let me tell you more about it, and so on. So every conversation, we're talking about, hey, who else do you know? We're talking about the licensing, moving them forward and getting licensed or selling. And then we're talking to them about the next big event, the next call, and so on. Now, one thing that before we get them calling leads, and this isn't like a huge step that's got to take a ton of time, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And like I said in the beginning, a lot of what we've been doing, we've just stolen from other people. So National Convention 2 years ago, Mike Guerra did a talk about how he gets people moving quickly and things he does in order to build a business. And he does these, like, we call it a game plan Zoom, where we jump on once people have gotten through 1 through 5, and it's someone who deserves our time, we'll schedule a 20, 30-minute Zoom call, or better yet, in person. Yeah. And we're going to go over a couple of things. We're going to go over goal setting. We're going to go over accountability, and we're going to talk about building a business, okay? And we're going to ask them some upfront. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole thing because you can go on the video vault and find his talk, but we're going to figure out what they really want to get out of this. So that way we have a better idea of where we stand. Andy talks about you can't help someone until you know exactly where they're at. Because if they're making $200,000 a year already, we need to talk to them about scaling up to that pretty quickly. If they're making 36 grand a year and they want to make an extra $1,000 a month, well, now we know where they're at. So we got to figure out their goals first. And then we got to set some accountability, like be upfront and personal in their face a little bit of letting them know, hey, this is what I'm going to do for you. We need to make sure that you're in it 100% as well. And then we're going to ask them, hey, if they want to get moving fast and they want to make some money quickly, we got to talk to them about the building side. We got to talk to them about who they know, what's their top 3, their top 6 people that they want to build a business with, and teach them the full opportunity. It's like, imagine if you had a Ferrari in your garage and the fastest you took that thing was 35 miles an hour. Like, what a waste of a work of art. What a waste of a car, right? No, you want to be taking that thing down the road at like 180 miles an hour, at least a couple times a week, maybe not all the time. But the thing is if what we're doing, and again, maybe you don't have to, but it's like, we need to at least tell people about it, because what we've learned is that if we don't tell people about the events, or if we don't tell people that they can build a business, they don't know what they don't know. So when we can sit down with them and have a conversation and tell them about how you can make money not only by selling but by building a business, it's a game changer. Like, we had our new buddy Caden here in Albuquerque. He got into a hotspot the same day as Lauren. They were at the same exact meeting. He got signed up on Thursday, got his license by that next week. And within that, by the time he was licensed, he already had brought on 2 of his good friends that he played basketball with and he went to school with. It's like, it doesn't have to take long. Is everyone going to do that? No, but we need to tell everyone about it, because you don't know who's going to and who's not. Right. So we slow down to make sure they know the full opportunity, so that way we can get them moving forward. And then, obviously then we get them into leads and all that good stuff. Now we could really dive deep into there, but some other things that we talk about, I know VeRae's going to touch on, that help keep our people excited and moving forward.
Yeah. So coming back to it, right? It's just having urgency and accountability, but it's also bringing that fun side of it for people. I know for Jake and I, when we got started, one thing that was really promoted hard was the trips. And I think that's something, and we're guilty of it. I'm not saying that you guys are guilty of it, but that's something that we've kind of strayed away from, is forgetting to tell people how good these trips are and reminding them of it, again, like Jake said, early and often, right? Hey, let's start. Do they know that they can earn a trip, right? Let's tell stories. So if you're a leader on here and you're building a team, you better be on these trips, because you need to be able to share your own experience. So, I'm just saying that, right? Like, you should be earning your trip every single year. You should make sure that you have people on your team earning your trip every single year, but it's talking to people about it often and creating that vision and sharing the stories and the pictures, right? And then helping them break it down. Some people say, oh, the trips don't really excite me. I'm like, yeah, it's because you're making no money and you haven't been on one yet. Like, let's get you to a trip, and then you can, sorry, that's the line.
You can't hurt them.
I don't tell them that, but that's what goes through my head. But I'm like, so let's talk about the trips. Let's share stories. Let's share pictures. Let's create that vision. Andy just posted that new video about Cabo. That got me all fired up again, right? So let's make sure we're utilizing that at the hot spots as we're talking to people, as you're doing that game plan Zoom that Jake was talking about. Are we talking to people about trips? Are we making sure that they know exactly how to earn it? It's March 15th. If you hired somebody today, they have until December 31st to earn that trip. And then talking about those trips gets them excited, which helps us leverage the bonus points for the big events, right? So everything just kind of ties into each other. But I'm real big on sitting down with somebody and, okay, where are you at? You got licensed today. How many months do we have left? Let's break it down. How many points a month do you need? Okay, what does that mean as far as a weekly basis? Okay, you've got 3 run days a week. You've got 2 run days a week. Let's break it down to this is what we need to be doing every day. So that way we're reminding people. So when they call and they're like, oh, I just don't really feel like running today, or it's so hard for me. I'm struggling on booking, my 15, 20 appointments that I need this week. It's giving them, rather than being drill sergeant, it's reminding them of why they're doing it. Right? Reminding them, hey, it's going to be great when we're in Cabo together. We just got to
say, Cabo, baby, let's go.
We have a guy on our team, and his goal is to find a pretty little güerita to bring to Cabo. So anytime he's trying to slack off, we're like, hey, man, we got to find you your güerita for Cabo. So it's just, but it's just getting to know people and having that relationship with them. we could definitely spend a ton of more time on this, but again, we're coming up to 9 o'clock here, 9 Mountain Time, and so just again, kind of recapping of what it is that we're doing. You got to have enough people to talk to, right? If you have one person to talk to, it's not enough. You're going to be beating your head against the wall unless that person happens to be an ace, but more than likely it's not. Now, the other side of things, you can go and you can hire 30, 40, 50 people, but if you're not taking the time to slow down with these people and getting through these steps, because we've been guilty of that too. We're putting in width, and we're looking at our team and we're asking ourselves, and it's not pointing at your team, oh, well, if they wanted it, they would know how to do it. It's really asking yourself, if you don't have people up and going as a leader, are you taking the time to slow down and go through these 5 steps? Licensing, contracting, getting them trained up, the personal coverage review, war market policy reviews, and then getting them into working leads.
Yeah. Now we're going to take a deep breath. We went over a lot, and we have to get in the weeds. And you might be thinking, gosh, this sounds like a lot of work. And you know what? It is. You're working with people, and this is what you have to remember. I had a good conversation with one of my best friends yesterday, and we were talking about building a business and the relationships you build, and yet stuff's going to happen. And you know what? I heard Andy once say, it's not going to happen overnight, but then one day you're going to blink your eyes and it's going to be there. And in the last 5 years, we've been to the events, we've associated, we've just followed in the path of the leaders that are doing it. And yes, again, it does sound like a lot of work, but I'm going to tell you this, is it's probably going to be harder than you ever thought, but it's going to be way better than you ever could have imagined. I mean, you got to just tie into that vision. You have to remember, you know what? Yeah, you're going to get burned. You're going to have exciting stuff that's going to happen. But just remember, these are the things that you're going to be looking at. Good news is we have mentors, we have leaders that are going to help us through there. But I promise you all, if you just hang on tight, remember, you're always 3 feet from goal. Just remember, as when it gets the most frustrating, when it gets the most just like you want to you want to like punch a hole in the wall, just remember, if you can hang on just a little bit more, you're right into something that's going to happen great. You're going to find that next person that's just going to blow it up. You're right there from finding that gold. So just remember that. I know we got into the weeds, but if I can just slow down and just remind you all of that, it's definitely worth it. You just ask your growing mentor, your growing upline. I love hearing the stories of Mike and Noel and Joseph and the crazy stuff that they've gone through. But build those stories, have those experiences, so you can share it and you can remember it. But hey, we're going to wrap this thing up. We appreciate you all jumping on here. Use this. Hopefully, I hope this helps in helping people see where they can do different things and maybe what they're already doing. But hey, we've got the big seminar at headquarters next week. View from the Edge. I'm excited. Get more people there. Get one more. And we're fired up for what this company is doing. We know that the Alliance is the biggest integrity partner that they've got, and we're just fired up to help grow this thing. So without that,
well, thank you, Andy and Jane, for having us on, and thanks, Alliance family. See you guys soon.
See y'all.